General Hospital spoilers for Friday, May 16th reveal that amid the tension and mounting schemes in Port Charles, Nina unexpectedly makes a bold and shocking request of Carly, dragging the two women once again into a vortex of endless manipulation. What's remarkable is that instead of continuing their long-standing feud as sworn enemies, Nina and Carly are temporarily joining forces to carry out a dangerous mission, to take down Drew, not with violence, but through a carefully calculated plan to stop him from gaining custody of Wiley and Amelia. What once seemed impossible is now becoming a reality, proving that General Hospital is entering a wilder chapter than ever, where morality is upended, reason is tested, and trust is shattered piece by piece. Nina's request is far from gentle. It comes with an implicit threat, a bargaining chip that Carly has no choice but to take seriously, cooperate, or lose the children. Nina knows that Carly's greatest fear is losing the kids, especially Amelia, whom she loves as her own. As for Nina, after all her mistakes, her only remaining bond is with Wiley, her grandson, who she can't bear to lose again. Drew, once trusted, is now seen as a threat by both women. And in Nina's mind, there's only one way to keep Wiley: eliminate Drew from the picture entirely. Carly is initially shocked but quickly realizes that Nina isn't wrong. Drew has not only the legal edge but also the image of the ideal father that the court is likely to favor. He has a rehabilitated moral background, community sympathy, and now a powerful motivation to regain custody. Carly knows that if things continue as they are, she'll lose Amelia, Nina will lose Wiley, and Drew will win it all. So she agrees to sit down with Nina, not out of forgiveness, but because she needs an ally in a battle she knows she can't win alone. From that moment, a quiet but weighty alliance forms. Nina and Carly begin digging into Drew's past, looking for anything that could be used to tarnish his image in court, his time in prison, past business dealings, even relationships he's tried to bury. They don't need absolute truth, just enough doubt to sway the court. And if needed, they're ready to fabricate a narrative, one in which Drew loses control, becomes dangerous, and unfit to be a father. Not because he truly is, but because they exaggerate every crack in his armor. What makes all this even more insane is that both Carly and Nina know they're crossing a line. They're using fear as their guide, teaming up with someone they once despised, and weaponizing motherhood to destroy a man they once knew well. But deep down, both believe they're doing the right thing, that Wiley and Amelia deserve a future free from Drew's influence. They're not thinking about the consequences or betrayal, only about reclaiming control before it's too late. But as things spiral out of control and Drew realizes he's being cornered, there may be no turning back. Once Drew fights back, once twisted truths become tools in a legal war, Carly and Nina may lose control of the very storm they unleashed. What they thought was a clever strategy is evolving into a destructive whirlwind, tearing apart everything in its path, even the last values they believed in. And in that chaos, Port Charles once again becomes the battleground, not just for its people, but for their consciences, survival instincts, and the weight of maternal love, now caught in a web of hatred and lies. Meanwhile, as Port Charles continues to tremble from major shifts and simmering family tensions, Tracy has a deeply strategic and reassuring conversation with Brook Lynn about the increasing pressures surrounding the future of Gio, the young boy Brook Lynn is desperately trying to protect from the turmoil of the adult world. The return of Lulu, along with her complicated emotional ties and personal connections, has unintentionally created a strong ripple effect for Brook Lynn, leaving her unsure of her place in Joe's life and uncertain about what's to come. Although Lulu is still recovering, she's begun reconnecting with important people in her life, something Tracy anticipated. Tracy knows that Lulu's presence alone is enough to trigger a chain reaction, especially affecting Dante and, even more so, Brook Lynn, who's increasingly feeling the pressure of possibly losing stability in her role with Gio. Tracy sees that Brook Lynn is carrying a silent but heavy burden, caught between family responsibilities, personal emotions, and the unpredictability of the future. That's why Tracy chooses not just to talk, but to act strategically. In their private conversation, Tracy offers not only advice but confirms a bigger plan is taking shape, a plan to protect Brook Lynn, shield Gio, and preserve the Quartermain family legacy from unexpected intrusions. Even from someone like Lulu. It's not that Tracy sees Lulu as a threat, but she understands that Lulu's return during such a delicate time could change everything if not properly managed. That's why she urges Brook Lynn to stand her ground and promises full support, including legal and political influence, to ensure Brook Lynn's place beside Gio remains unshakable. Their interaction is more than just a grandmother-granddaughter talk, it's a connection between two generations of strong-willed women. Tracy passes down not just confidence, but a strategic vision of the future, where emotions must be tempered by reason, and where attachment to Gio must be safeguarded with tactical moves. Though still hesitant, Brook Lynn begins to see that she can't let herself be emotionally destabilized every time Lulu reappears. She needs to act, not to remove Lulu, but to assert her own position in the boy's life. With Tracy's backing, a plan begins to form, one that not only secures Brook Lynn's role, but also reaffirms the Quartermain family's influence. Tracy knows that even a small misstep could bring everything crashing down, and she's determined to protect her family from any hidden threats, even those once considered allies. And as always, when Tracy enters the game, emotion takes a back seat. Every move from here on out is calculated for victory. That conversation between Tracy and Brook Lynn is a milestone, opening a new chapter in their relationship and in the battle for Joe's future. It's not just a bond between two women, but the beginning of a long-term strategy, where love, power, and history intertwine in a complex web. And at the center of it all is Gio, the reason Brook Lynn fights, and the reason Tracy won't hesitate to strike. Lulu's return is just a catalyst, the real story is only just beginning. Amid the escalating tension and scheming in Port Charles, Ava has unexpectedly become a source of support for Portia, who is spiraling into panic as she senses that Drew is preparing a powerful counterattack, not just with words or legal maneuvers, but through threats, pressure, and terrifying memories of the ketamine incident that was once buried. Ava, no stranger to shadowy forces and covert manipulations, understands Portia is at a breaking point, where every decision could push her over the edge, risking her reputation, career, and even freedom. Though Portia tries to maintain a composed exterior, she is slowly falling apart as she realizes Drew is no longer the empathetic man she once knew. He has changed, becoming sharp, cold, and calculating. He doesn't need to shout or cause chaos. A few carefully orchestrated legal moves, and Portia's mistakes could be exposed to the harsh light of justice. The act of drugging someone with ketamine, regardless of circumstance or pressure, remains dangerous and ethically indefensible in the medical profession. And if Drew is determined to take her down, he has the means to do so. In this state of fear, Ava appears, not as a judge or critic, but as a hardened advisor. Someone who has stood on the edge many times, fallen, and clawed her way back. Ava doesn't lecture. She offers a cold but necessary dose of realism. She advises Portia that now is not the time for guilt, it is the time to act, quickly, wisely, and without hesitation. If Drew truly wants to make Portia a symbol of wrongdoing, she needs to get ahead of him, control the narrative, manage the information, and above all, not let fear paralyze her. Ava also warns that Drew may not stop at revealing the truth. If he's serious, he could enlist a whole network, Jason, Carly, Spinelli, even Sonny, to tighten the noose. That means Portia isn't just facing one betrayed man, she's up against an entire system working against her. That's why Ava recommends Portia make serious adjustments, not small tweaks, but a complete overhaul of her defense strategy. Yet these very adjustments are leading to a new wave of madness in the storyline. Once a rational woman, Portia is now being forced to think like someone who's about to lose everything, her job, her family, her dignity. She must choose between confessing the truth and sacrificing it all, or fighting back, spinning her own version of events, casting doubt, even aligning with former enemies. Ava doesn't say it outright, but implies that sometimes, to survive, you have to do the unthinkable, even betray your own conscience. The conversation between Ava and Portia is not just a tactical exchange, it marks the beginning of a fragile but dangerous alliance. Ava sees the fear in Portia's eyes, and Portia realizes Ava is the only one who understands what it means to be cornered. And as these two women stand together to confront Drew, cold, intelligent, and legally armed, this is no longer a simple conflict. It's a survival game, where the winner is the one who can suppress fear, manipulate emotion, and adjust every move to avoid annihilation. What's most frightening is that the changes Portia is about to make, under Ava's influence, signal that General Hospital is entering a new chapter, where goodness becomes dangerous. And where once moral characters are sliding down a slippery slope of self-destruction. A new kind of madness is forming, not loud or violent, but quiet, calculated, and predatory. And when it finally explodes, Port Charles will never be the same. Lulu is returning with a personal mission, urgent and haunting. She's not just here to mend old wounds or reintegrate into Port Charles' life. This time, she's on a hunt, not literally, but in a determined search for the truth. A relentless journey to uncover what exactly is happening with Rocco. The son she feels is slipping further and further out of her control. After a long absence, Lulu comes back just as alarming signs surrounding Rocco begin to pile up: behavioral changes, unusual outbursts of anger, emotional detachment, and a growing rift between him and the rest of the family. This has triggered Lulu's maternal instincts, long suppressed during her coma, to flare up with a fire that cannot be extinguished. This new storyline isn't just about a rebellious child. What Lulu sees in Rocco doesn't resemble typical teenage angst. He's showing strange signs, from sudden disconnection with friends, to mysterious disappearances, and even cryptic comments like, "There are things I'm not allowed to talk about." Lulu, with the intuition of a mother and the sharpness of someone who's navigated her share of conspiracies, knows something serious is being hidden, not just by Rocco, but possibly by those around him. And as others try to smooth things over with vague explanations, Lulu becomes more convinced she must act. One of the key adjustments she makes is to step out of her family's safety net and investigate on her own. She no longer trusts empty reassurances from Dante or Laura. She believes that during her coma, others became too comfortable making decisions in her absence, and now, she's ready to take that power back. Lulu doesn't hesitate to scrutinize even those closest to Rocco, including Brook Lynn, and if necessary, Sunny. In her eyes now, no one is innocent if they're hiding something. This isn't a passing panic. It's a total shift in how Lulu interacts with the world. She's not hunting to assign blame, she's reclaiming her stolen role as a mother. And to do so, she's willing to cross lines, damage relationships, and even abandon the moral compass that once anchored her. To many, Lulu may look unhinged. But to her, this isn't madness, it's survival. Rocco's situation is getting more serious by the day. One discovery that shakes Lulu is the interference in his school records, unauthorized therapy sessions, and strange writings found in Rocco's room, about night fears, the man in the mirror, and the whispers after sleep. These signs make it impossible for her to believe he's simply going through a phase. She believes an unseen force is influencing her son, and whoever it is, whatever their motive. Lulu is ready to rip through every facade to bring her son back. Lulu's return, already a shock to many, now becomes the catalyst for a chain of uncontrollable changes. She is no longer the woman who kept the peace or made quiet sacrifices. She's now a warrior, and her sole mission is to protect Rocco at all costs. She's not seeking fairness, she's seeking power to reclaim and reshape the reality she believes has been manipulated. Perhaps the biggest change Lulu makes is shattering the passive role that had been assigned to her post-coma. She doesn't ask permission. She doesn't wait for consensus. She doesn't care about warnings that she's going too far. Because to Lulu, nothing is too far when her son's safety and future are at risk. And that is what's leading to a new storm, not loud or chaotic, but slow-burning, calculated, and ready to ignite at the right moment. This transformation isn't just Lulu's, it's pulling all of Port Charles into a new orbit. A place where the past can no longer predict the future. A place where motherhood isn't just emotion, it's raw survival instinct. And a place where Lulu, with all she's lost and all she's fighting to reclaim, becomes the epicenter of one of the town's most profound emotional and moral earthquakes. Sunny is entering a completely different phase, no longer the cold, calculating mob boss who controlled everything from the shadows, but a man full of fury, resolve, and a readiness to confront anyone who threatens the family he spent a lifetime protecting. His decision to personally seek out Willow is not merely an act of concern or empathy, as many might assume. It marks the beginning of a strategic, explosive series of events. Willow is no longer just an ex-daughter-in-law or the mother of Wiley and Amelia. She has become the center of an emerging undercurrent surrounding Drew, a man Sunny once viewed as an ally, but who is now becoming his most dangerous adversary. Since enduring personal trauma and imprisonment, Drew has begun to reveal a different side, colder, more calculating, and especially ruthless in his attempts to seize control over the lives of those around him. He is no longer the idealistic man so many once admired. Drew now hides his desire for power behind a facade of morality, using emotional manipulation and legal dominance to assert control. In this calculated madness, Drew has started to exert influence over Wiley and Amelia, drawing them into custody battles that have little to do with love or responsibility, and everything to do with asserting absolute dominance. Willow, once a firm supporter of Drew, is now beginning to see his frightening transformation. She no longer feels safe, no longer senses love or mutual respect. Instead, their conversations are manipulated, his gaze is watchful, and his words carry unspoken threats. If she doesn't comply, he'll take everything. And it's in that moment that Willow begins to feel like a prisoner in her own home, a place that should provide shelter, now becoming a metaphorical cage, with Drew as her warden. When Sunny becomes aware of the situation, he immediately enters the battlefield he knows better than anyone else, a game of power, pressure, and retaliation. He no longer trusts the legal system or any promises of reconciliation or fair trials. Sunny knows once Drew has reached this level of manipulation, there is only one path forward: strike first. But to do that, he needs information, evidence, and an ally, and that ally is Willow. The meeting between Sunny and Willow is not just a conversation. It is a critical turning point, a moment where silence is broken and Willow finally admits she cannot fight Drew alone. She speaks of the emotional pressure, of how Drew subtly accuses her of being an unfit mother, and how he uses the legal system to control every decision related to their children. Willow cries as she confesses that she used to fear losing Drew, but now, she fears losing herself. Hearing these words, Sunny is not just angry, he feels betrayed by someone he once trusted to protect his grandchildren's future. From that moment on, Sunny no longer views Drew as family. Drew becomes a target. A campaign begins, quiet, calculated, but fierce and unrelenting. Sunny begins gathering intel, activating connections in legal circles, the media, and even the shadows. He doesn't tell Carly. He doesn't consult Michael. He only needs Willow to stand with him and tell the truth, as she has lived it. Sunny wants the world to see the real Drew, not a hero, but a man losing his humanity in his obsessive pursuit of power through his children. The counterattack Sunny is preparing is not a burst of immediate action, it is a long game. A strategic dismantling of Drew's public image. He wants to rebuild Willow's image as a devoted mother under threat, not from circumstance, but from a falsely idolized man. If necessary, Sunny is prepared to release the secrets only someone like him would know, past mistakes, episodes where Drew lost control, and evidence that he is unfit to have custody of any child. Sunny's visit to Willow marks a major turning point in General Hospital's already turbulent narrative. This is no longer just a story about custody disputes, it's a story of power, truth, and the survival of those who seem powerless. Drew, once seen as a pillar, is now the hunted. Willow, once the victim, now stands at the edge of reclaiming her voice. And Sunny, with his fierce protective instincts and razor-sharp intellect, will not stop until the one causing fear is held accountable. A new offensive is erupting, not through violence, but through strategy. tightly controlled fury, and a profound love for the children who should never have become pawns in a war for dominance. And once Sunny begins, Port Charles will never know peace again.